We are now live, so hello and welcome to those of you joining us just a few minutes early. My name is Charlotte. I'll be your host for this session. I do have our editor-in-chief, Mike Larson, here with me, as well as Shannon Davis, and we are ready to begin the session on time at 1 p.m. That is Eastern Time, coming up again in just a few short minutes. If you're looking for something to do while you wait, feel free to check out American Alternative Assets virtual booth. You can find some information above the video player, but their handouts and the request info form are all below. Thank you all so much for your patience, and I hope you're enjoying the show so far. To those of you who are just joining us, welcome. We will be starting the next session on time at 1 p.m. Eastern Time in just a few short minutes here. If you're looking for something to do while you wait, please feel free to check out the virtual booth below the video player for some handouts and more information. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the session. I have Money Show's editor-in-chief here, Mike Larson, and he is joined by American Alternative Assets CEO and precious metal specialist, Shannon Davis. To our live viewers, please share any questions you may have throughout the session in the chat box. And without further ado, Mike, the floor is all yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Charlotte, and welcome everybody who's joining us for this session. You're going to get a really interesting take on what's happening in the precious metals market here and learn about some new ways that you can invest in the space with our guest. Our featured presenter is Shannon Davis. He's CEO of American Alternative Assets. American Alternative is a precious metals company focused on helping Americans better understand how physical gold, silver, and gold IRAs may fit into a longer-term retirement and wealth preservation strategy. With more than 15 years of experience in the precious metals industry, Shannon has built a reputation for clear, education-driven guidance around tangible assets, retirement diversification, and long-term financial resilience. American Alternative Assets is centered on transparency, trust, and helping individuals make informed decisions about physical precious metals in an uncertain economic environment. Shannon also brings a strong media presence, regularly providing commentary on economic trends, inflation, market volatility, and the role of gold and silver in a resilient wealth strategy. His insights have been featured across financial and conservative media platforms, including appearances connected to Real America's Voice, One America News, The Blaze, iHeartRadio, WorldNet Daily, MarketBeat, and interviews with hosts such as John Solomon, John Curacao, and Dr. Naomi Wolf. Today, Shannon is going to walk us through several warning signs investors may want to pay attention to. Also, what history can teach us about periods of market stress, and why Americans are taking a closer look at physical gold and silver as part of their broader retirement strategy. Please welcome Shannon Davis, CEO of American Alternative Assets.
Awesome. What an introduction. Thank you, Mike. I greatly appreciate that. And thanks for having me. Excited to be here with you today. And I feel this is a very important conversation right now. There's a lot happening that goes without saying in our economy. And there's a lot of things that most aren't hearing about if it's not in the mainstream narrative, which can move mountains these days. But today really is about not fear or panic. It's about some of the words you just mentioned right now: understanding risk, understanding history, and making sure people are properly positioned if conditions continue to become volatile, or I don't know if they can be much more volatile than they are today, but a lot of people we speak with are approaching retirement and they're not looking to hit home runs anymore. They're just looking to protect, preserve, and have a legacy that they can leave behind for decades. After taking decades to build it. So we're also going to share a complimentary report called the Bellwether Signal, which breaks down signals you've never seen before. I feel confident in saying that, or most haven't seen. 7 historical warning indicators that have aligned before every previous market correction. We'll call it a correction. Market's heavily inflated right now. We're on a wild ride with AI, but there are some warning signs that most aren't looking at. So excited to talk about that with you here today, Mike.
Great. Thanks for the introduction, Shannon. I guess the obvious question that comes to mind first, of course, is what are these bellwether signals, if you don't mind sharing a few of them that you're thinking about here?
Of course. Yeah. So what you track, what we call bellwether indicators, what exactly those are. Most investors are looking at the same thing: S&P 500, historical trends, indicators. What's the market doing? What is the Dow, the Nasdaq, the S&P 500 doing? Sure. But when you look at the first one, for example, we call it it's called the cardboard box indicator. So what that is, and funny, you think about everything that's being shipped in boxes: Amazon orders, industrial parts, consumer goods. You can revise GDP numbers, but you can't fake shipping demand. So before the 2008 financial crisis, cardboard production dropped sharply. Right now, it's fallen again during what would normally be a strong shipping environment. That's getting our attention. Another signal to watch is Las Vegas. They call it the Las Vegas Visitor Traffic Indicator. Vegas basically is a real-time read on discretionary confidence, people spending money, people traveling. When people feel financially strong, they'll travel, they'll spend. When uncertainty rises, spending contracts quickly. And so right now, Vegas, the traffic, it's down more than 11% within hotel occupancies. So we're watching indicators like that. When people are no longer jumping on a plane, putting the family together, going to hotels, spending money on vacations, it's an indicator that their confidence is lacking. their income isn't generating enough outside of just paying their bills. And wait till this energy shock hits. I think we'll see a bigger one there too. But these are the type of things that people stop spending money on. So another area we're watching right now, and we call it, it's a very meaningful signal when it comes to the bellwether signals, is going to be it's kind of a funny one, but it's the underwear index.
Okay.
So historically, when underwear purchases go down by males, it's like on a higher end scale. It's a funny one to take a look at. There's also the luxury spending indicator, RVs, boats, motorcycles, all have weakened. Historically, affluent consumers tend to get in different areas, and that's been a meaningful signal prior to any cycle. And I feel like we're in a pretty big cycle. So those are some of the indicators out of the 7. And again, we've got the guide that we're going to provide for everybody where they can get a full breakdown. I'm just scratching the surface with the actual numbers and all the indicators, Mike.
Got it. Perfect, Shannon. So let me ask you the next obvious question. We've got these indicators that you're watching. You have these warning signs that are emerging in some ways in sort of these out of the way places, but that can provide some insights on the market. What are institutions and central banks doing in response to all of this?
Yeah, so if these warning signals are emerging, what are institutions and central banks doing right now? Again, they've got more physical gold on their books now than actual treasuries. I think that's a huge tell sign. But they're buying at a historical pace. This is probably the most important part of the conversation. Central banks globally are buying gold at some of the highest levels we've ever seen. That matters because central banks think differently than retail investors. They operate on multi-decade time horizons. We touched on this a little bit with our exclusive interview, and the trends haven't changed. If you recall, in our previous conversation, you've got countries like Poland, Indonesia, Malaysia, Guatemala, all have been increasing their gold purchases. So something's changing. Inflation remains elevated. National debt, it's approaching almost 40 trillion. We've eclipsed $39 trillion, and just mathematically, long term, it's unsustainable and it's eating away at people's purchasing power. So, and we talked about that, if the central banks are buying it at a record pace, you want to pay attention to it, take a look at why they're buying it, and that's what we help people understand.
Yeah, and I'm glad, again, I'm glad you outlined what the smart money investors are doing. And I also want to just ask in general, why are your everyday investors, your retail investors and so on, looking at physical metals again here?
Yeah, safety. As you get older, as I opened, hopefully, and if you haven't gotten some gains with this last run that we've been on, it's historical, then you got the wrong person managing the account. It's kind of hard not to pick a winner these days, especially if you're in AI. I mean, they are dumping money into it. Trump opened up those floodgates. I think there's a short window for it, but the investors are now taking those profits off the table. I always look at it like if you're in Vegas, at some point, if you're up, you better cash out your chips, or you end up giving it all back at the end of the day. And markets can swing quickly. You've seen it. You've been doing this for a long time. So a lot of investors probably think of gold simply as an inflation hedge. We talked about this before, but it's broader than that. It's much broader than that. Today is really about portfolio resilience, true diversification, moving money out of a dollar denominated asset. If you're all in paper, you want to move something into gold, silver, platinum, palladium, real estate, something tangible, something that moves inverse to that relationship. And people are starting to see that now. They're starting to really count their years of when they're going to be either in retirement or if they're going to be, hopefully not passing on anytime soon, but it's about legacy and leaving something real behind. Because you fast forward 10 years from now, what will the dollar bill truly be? Fast forward 10 years from now, gold's going to be gold. It's never going to go to zero. It's going to hold its value. And that's what they're seeing now, Mike. They're seeing the value in a tangible, an asset they own. It's peace of mind. It's not get rich overnight. It's stay rich for a long time.
Got it. And of course, gold is the first, I think, precious metal most people think about when they think about the asset class. But
Yep.
obviously, you've had a lot to say about silver recently. So why is silver starting to get more attention too?
Yeah, the silver, it's fascinating because it functions as both a monetary metal and an industrial metal. Industrial metal is going to be the key part there. We talked a little bit about AI infrastructure. It's absorbing a copious amount of silver, especially in some of their bigger data centers. I mean, huge amounts, 300 to 600 ounces of silver. I mean, they're building these infrastructures, these AI infrastructures now underwater because there's a water capacity that they need to take into play as well. So silver, we mentioned it on our personal interview we did together. I think it's historically at one of the best prices, and it's still $26 higher than its all-time high. But the demand, there's more demand than there is actual silver. And when you have that functionality, it's a no-brainer to me. It's a little bit more volatile, so there's a good mixture between what you want to have in gold and silver. There's a sweet spot, and we think we know that just based on our experience and just the copious amount of customers we have. But silver's always been something. If you buy it at the right time, and that right time is now, Mike, you always do well.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about, I mean, we've set the big picture here. We've talked about why you might want to be involved in the asset class, the different ways you can do it. But I want to talk about tactics here. How do things like a self-directed gold IRA work? I mean, it's something that the people may not know as easily as just buying shares of GLD in their brokerage account.
Yeah. Hey, you can buy that in a self-directed IRA. You can hold those and you can hold physical gold and silver. And that's the focus. It's a self-directed traditional IRA. It's been around since 1997. Honestly, that's probably the most common reaction we get is you can own physical gold and silver in a retirement account. And the answer is yes, you can actually hold physical gold, silver, platinum, and palladium, IRS approved depositories in an IRA. And the caveat is it's self-directed, and it's been around for a very, very long time. Very easy to set up. You can include an IRA, a 401k, a TSP, a SEP IRA. You can roll all these type of accounts over, tax deferred and penalty free. So it's a very simple process. We handle all the heavy lifting for everybody. And then it's really about the placement of assets in that account that we focus on once everything's been set up. But again, these are IRS approved rollover plans, no different than the ones they have now. The caveat is you're the driver of that account. You're in control of that account. With the world changing more and more every day and less control and more automations and more AI, a lot of our customers, especially our retirees, they take peace of mind in knowing that they've got some control over their retirement. So it's a very simple process. It's been around for a long time. The goal is simply just to help people understand how this structure works and whether or not it makes sense for their situation.
Got it. We're about halfway through the time that we have. So viewers, if you're watching this, I just want to remind you this is interactive. If you have any questions you want to ask of Shannon, do pop those into the chat window there, or do go ahead and ask them in the platform, and then Charlotte will relay them to me so we can get your questions answered. I guess, Shannon, while we wait to see if any of those pop up, the next question is, frankly, if somebody's listening to this right now, they're watching this, they like what you have to say, what's the next step they can take to learn more?
Yeah, there's a number provided. I always think that's the best action step. Be proactive instead of reactive. Make the call. I think that's the hardest part is actually picking up the phone. And I think I can speak, personally, I've had that challenge, right? Whether it's a honey-do list, right, of someone I got to call and get done for my wife and or the family, but there's always a hesitation. I think that's the biggest challenge for most, and I say start there because you're going to get the best information from one of the professionals that work for me. You're going to get an opportunity to talk to someone like a Walter Dombrowski who works for me, 76 years young, started on the Wall Street floor in 1983. He sold commodities, got into this industry a long time ago, decades ago. So you'll have an opportunity to talk to a gentleman like that who can really break down how you're positioned now and make some recommendations, give you some guidance on what would make sense to diversify so that you have some of your money in a completely different asset class that has been around for over 5,000 years. So you'll get a true education from a man like that and many others that work here. And then you'll have the opportunity to really understand the process from somebody that's done it thousands and thousands of times. Or you can request the guide, you can book a call. There's so many opportunities for you guys out there that are listening, that are trying to understand this more, see if they are truly diversified. There's so many options for them to reach out to us, Mike. We just encourage you take one of those steps. At the very least, find out what your options are. We're just looking to make a friend. If it's not the right fit, we'll guide you in a different direction if necessary.
Got it. And you do have a slide up on the screen talking about a money show offer. If someone can qualify for potentially up to $30,000 in free silver. Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Definitely. So this is exclusive. We've never done this before. It's going to be on a qualified purchase. So, when you call in, ask about the promotion. It'll be on a qualified purchase, whether that's a cash position and or an IRA rollover. I know we're focusing a lot on IRAs, but we also deal with cash positions. There's a lot of money that's sitting in banks making 0.02% in a savings account or 4% in a CD. And real inflation is higher than that. So as your money sits there, it's less and less. So that is another opportunity. I think banks are hemorrhaging losses now. I think that's a whole another ball of wax that people should be paying attention to. So this is an offer exclusive for the viewers, for your listeners, for your community, Mike. And it's for both not only an IRA qualified transfer, but also a cash transfer as well. So give us a call. We'll go over the promotion with you, see if it's something that makes sense for you there as well.
That sounds good, Shannon. We actually do have a couple questions coming in that Charlotte has fed me, so I want to go ahead and get to those now. We have Ken R. who's asking, how do you take an RMD from a self-directed gold IRA? So minimum distribution, I assume?
Nice. Yep. He's talking about RMDs, required minimum distributions. Yeah. So number one, we help you with that process, just like any custodian. We help you with that process. But the beautiful part about it and why that's such a great question by Ken is you can do it in two different ways. So the first way is your standard cash distribution. So what a lot of people, I think one of the myths is what do I do with gold? Is it liquid? There's nothing more liquid than gold and silver, platinum and palladium. It's a global market that's open 24/7. And we've got the ability to liquidate a portion of your assets into a cash position, and then you take your required distribution. It's taxed like any other account, right? It's no different than an IRA. It's no different than a 401k, whatever structure you've got. When you take that distribution, it is a taxable event if it's in a tax deferred account. Roth is something different, obviously. So it's no different than your traditional account. Now, the caveat is you can also take what's called an in-kind distribution. An in-kind distribution means you're taking out physical metal. So I'll give you an example. A lot of our clients are 80 years old. They've got plenty of money to pay their bills, to have fun, do whatever they want. So they don't necessarily need the cash per se. So what they can do is take an in-kind distribution in gold, silver, or platinum. It meets their requirement. They'll get shipped the physical asset that they can keep in their home. in their safe keepings. And if they want to sell it in a year, they just need to call us up and we'll liquidate it. We have a 100% buyback guarantee program for all our clients, so we'll buy back whatever you're looking to sell. We've got the market for it on a day-to-day basis. So we're always looking for assets to move to other buyers, but you can also take an in-kind distribution. Now, the beautiful part about that is, say silver is $75, $76 today, spot price. If you take that coin out, just that one coin today, that's what gets reported, the melt value. Spot price is the raw ore out of the ground. So it's the melt value. That actually, once it's taken out of the ground, there's a whole production line, so to say, to it. Travel, refinery, melting it down, laying it on a pallet, and then producing a specific asset and or series of assets. And then there's a certain quantity that's produced. American Eagles, there's 12 to 24 million each year produced. If you've got a quarter ounce, say a quarter ounce, it's a Wild Series, Polar Bear and Cub, they only make a few 100,000 of those. So there's going to be a different demand for that when you sell it a year later. And that coin can sell today for $150. The difference between the two, there's no reportability on that sale a year later of the gain because it's outside of the requirement. You've already met that. So there are some tax benefits. Love to explain those to anybody that calls in as well. And there's a lot more to that, but you can take an RMD just like you do in your account now, or you can take it in physical form, hold on to it, sell it later, and there's some tax benefits.
Got it. I've got another question coming in from Amanda W. She asks, can I use my existing retirement account to buy physical gold or silver?
You can, yeah. An IRA, 401k. Now, depending on the 401k and the retirement provider, there may be restrictions because they write those plans internally, and there's a lot of restrictions on you getting your money. So if you're under the age of 59 and a half or above the age of 59 and a half, there could be some restrictions with the 401k, but an IRA, TSP, SEP, Roth, any of those are all eligible for a rollover, tax deferred, penalty free.
Got it. And one more question coming in here as well. Where is the gold or silver stored if it's inside an IRA?
Another great question. Yeah, so that is stored at an IRS approved. We were just talking about that. An IRS approved depository. There's dozens across our country. Delaware, Nevada, Texas, Colorado, you name it, they're there. These are IRS approved private entities. There's no federal involvement, no state involvement. These are private entities, standalone. So your assets sit in a military graded vault, armed guards and security systems, state of the art, 24/7. And the actual facility and your assets are insured through Lloyd's of London, biggest insurance company for over 300 years. So it's stored at an IRS approved international style facility, same place that JP Morgan Chase stores its silver.
Got it.
Great place to have your stuff.
Perfect. Okay. We do still have a few minutes. If there are any more questions, please do just type them in, and Charlotte will make sure she relays them to me. Shannon, I guess in the time that we have left, is there anything more you want to share about this report? I mean, how big is it? Are there any other points in there that you think are particularly important to bring out besides those three you mentioned?
Yeah. I mean, the indicators are the indicators. I think how big it is these 7 indicators since the Great Depression have called every correction we've seen since 1929. I think that's how big it is. And so it's really good information. And then really at the end of the day, it's really about just taking like an internal inventory check, looking at how you're positioned, once or twice, looking at your account with your FA or your 401k provider. I mean, especially a 401k, the HR department and who they've got staff that's helping you manage those accounts isn't enough in today's times and how quickly markets are moving. So I think really I would challenge people to take an internal inventory of how they're positioned. Are they in just stocks, bonds, mutual funds? Is it all paper assets? Is money sitting in a bank account that could be doing much more? How safe is it in the bank? Take a checklist and look at all that, and then give us a call. See what might work where you can have a true diversification if the market does correct by 25%. Because if the market corrects by 25%, you're going to need to make back 35% in order to recoup that based on inflation and some of the other factors that come into play. And so I think that that's something that you have. And plus, last time we saw a major correction, obviously 2008, it took on average 10 to 12 years for most to recoup their losses. So you got to ask yourself, if there was a correction, which all signs are lining up to that at some point, we don't have a crystal ball when it will happen. But do you have at your age 10, 12, 14 years to wait for you to get your money back and then some? That's a question you should ask yourself as well. So it's really simple stuff. I encourage a phone call. Take advantage, get the guide, read it. Education is power. I'm not the one that made that one up, but a lot of resources for your listeners, Mike.
Yeah, and you actually were able to just throw up on the screen the 7-point retirement protection checklist and a phone number where people can call, kind of do a self-evaluation to see where they are. So I would encourage people take a look at that. It's also available in their booth and find information there. But before we wrap up, another question just popped up here from JJ for you, Shannon. And it says, do you think if stocks crash, we use the correction term, but let's call it, if that happens, people might sell their gold to cover margin calls?
Well, no, they wouldn't be selling their physical gold. What will be sold to cover margin calls is going to be what's being held against ETFs, like a GLD or an SLV, like the COMEX. They're doing that already now. They're having huge liquidity issues. They don't even have enough metals to sufficiently to meet all these margin calls. So that's already happening now. If there's a huge market correction, it's not going to affect gold. It's just going to be like 2008. There's going to be a shock. Gold's going to be pretty linear, might even dip a little bit because it's just pure chaos, just like in 2008. But from that point, once it kind of settled and corrected, it took off. It dropped below 1,000 and then it took off and went almost to almost 2,000, a little over 1,900. So gold, it's outside of any of that market. It's inverse. Like if there's a correction, these margin calls start happening, has nothing to do with whoever owns physical gold and silver. It's theirs. It's not attached to that.
Got it. Well, Shannon, I think that's a great place to wrap up. Really do appreciate you taking some time out here to chat and walk people through all these points and the special report and how maybe a gold IRA can work for them. So thanks for the time, viewers, listeners. You do have that information. Definitely check out their booth, see what else you can find there, and maybe this is the right answer for you. Shannon, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike. Have a great rest of your day. Appreciate you.
Take care.